I'm Meliса Lensman. I'm Deputy Leader of Canada's Conservative, hopefully Canada's next government, and the member of Parliament, the very, very proud member of Parliament for Thornhill, a place where I grew up, a place that I've always called home, one of my homes. I'm also an unabashed supporter of Israel. It has been no secret. I am openly and was raised in a Zionist home, and I know that many in this audience probably feel like you're pretty alone right now in this country for your views. And we're here to celebrate the relationship between Canada and Israel, a relationship that is united in freedom-loving nations and free people, a relationship that benefits our economies and our communities, and yes, a relationship that should be one of our closest relationships in the world. I think the conversation as Israelis, as Jews in this country, as anybody who's living in the Western world and watching what is happening, there has been no doubt in my mind that Israel will emerge from this war victorious, that the hostages are coming home, that Hamas will be defeated. I don't believe that to be untrue for 1 second. And when the war finishes, the silent scores will be tallied. And that's what I'm worried about. Who's been with Israel through fire and water? Who was there when things were easy but weren't there when things got difficult? I think we can all agree that Canada is probably not in the category where we would have once seen ourselves in. And the fact that we have major work to do to repair the diplomatic relationship between Canada and Israel and so many nations after 9 years, I think, of falling off of people's radars and falling off of the place that we used to have at the table is not lost on anyone. I think without a strong relationship between the two governments, it's impossible for there to be strong relationship between businesses and entrepreneurs and people. I will say this, though. We have a 75-year history as close friends and allies. Shared values tied to freedom, democracy, the rule of law. The last 7 months isn't going to ruin that. But we do need to make a resolve to make the last 7 months go away and repair the relationship that I think has been broken between the two countries. And I am very, very proud to be part of a team that has that as one of our top agenda items. Not only this relationship, but relationships with our G7 partners and where we had a place in the world, where we were at the table talking about freedom and democracy and the rule of law and our shared values. It is not lost on me that we are having this conference in a building, in a Jewish community center surrounded by police officers, where you have to show ID to get in. That shouldn't be lost on any of you. That shouldn't have happened. That wouldn't have happened 7 months ago. And the pro-Israel politicians in this country, which I thought there would be more, there isn't, face daily threats for their views. Those who advocate on campus, the campus where people are occupying the front lawns of that campus, fighting against a supposed occupation, with their face covereds, pretend jihadists, all marching to the beat of the same drum, getting more and more vile in their hatred. It shouldn't be lost on anybody that that is happening and there has been silence. The combination of, I think, lawlessness and the inability for people to say what needs to be said is something that we're going to have to fix if our relationship in the tech community, our relationship in exchange of ideas, our business relationships are going to get better. It matters what politicians are going to say. It matters what leaders in our community are going to say. It matters what leaders outside of our community are going to say, and it matters what they do. And when they refuse to condemn the anti-Semitism in the slogans and the protests and the genocidal calls against our fellow Canadians, and they refuse to arrest those who have broken laws, and they give taxpayer money to organizations like UNRWA, who are known to be part of the October 7th terrorists and much of the terrorism before that, when they refuse to arrest those who have broken the law right here in our own cities, those things send a signal. when they hold hands with terrorists like Mahmoud Abbas, when they call the Taliban our brothers, or when they fail to list the IRGC as the terrorists that they are, who are fighting the proxy wars, that all matters. It all matters to how we do business in Canada, and I want to assure you one thing, all of that will change. And all of what you are doing is going to be easier when it does change, when we have the courage of our convictions to call terror what it is. And we root it out of our country the same way that the Israelis are going to root it out of theirs. And I am proud to be part of a leader of a leadership team who has that as a priority. I'm going to give you a challenge. I don't think it's enough to be revolted by what you see on social media. I don't think it's enough to give somebody a like or go out to a protest. I think you need to call people out when they're silent. I think you need to call people out when they say the wrong things. And I know that it's going to be difficult. And I know that it's going to be difficult because you have a million other things that you are worried about. But none of this is going to be easy if we sit in rooms like this talking to each other. If we don't get our allies on board, and we have a lot of allies, and the crazier that it gets out there, the crazier that it looks out there, the masked protesters, the genocidal slogans, the more allies that we will have fighting for Western democracy, Western values, and civilization. And we need to get all of those people together fighting with us, because I'm going to tell you, what starts with the Jews in this country never ends with the Jews. And we have to make sure that people know that. What is going on right now in campus is a bit of a dangerous game for communities like this one. That when people camp out on campuses calling for divestment of any kind or breaking up relationships, that should make each one of you afraid. And if you think they're not going to win by sitting here and continuing on with your conference, they've already won a little bit. Every time they take an inch, the university gives them a mile, and before you know it, they are going to get their demands. So it is up to us to stand up for this. It is up to the politicians in your country, whether it's federal, provincial, municipal, or the campus cops that have failed to secure campuses. What is happening right now matters to you, and I want you to heed that as a warning. It is important to talk to each other about how to make investment flow, but it is important to fight what's happening in Canada right now. Because as I started this conversation, and I will end here, I am not worried about what's going to happen in Israel. I think the same people will sing the same songs on the same land in the same language forever. I'm worried about what happens in Canada. I'm Israel Chai.